So, welcome back. In the last video, we arrived at this point here, and I didn't quite make it explicit at the time, but we'll do that right now. I did point out the 936 triangle here. And that's taking into consideration what we could call the natural order, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 running around the circle, which, as we know, corresponds to the 11th plane, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or equally, we can also talk about it going this way around, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is the 8th plane as well. There's just a tendency we're kind of we go clockwise, but we can also turn anti-clockwise, as we also showed with the star map, that the stars move in both directions. So whilst this defines the 936 triangle, this equilateral triangle there, then we can also see that this equilateral triangle running in this direction is the 1, 4, 7 equilateral triangle, whilst the other equilateral triangle is the 2, 5, 8 equilateral triangle. So that's also a key step to having the 3 equilateral triangles separated out into the 3, 6, 9 triangle, the 4, 1, 7 and the 2, 5, 8 triangles. And what we can also show is, for example, if we were to change this order, so and if we were to take any one of the other planes, so let's take plane number 9 for example, and we'll go 7, 5, 3, 1, 8, 6, 4, 2, 9. So what we see here, this equilateral triangle, which was the 1, 4, 7 before, is still the 1, 4, 7 triangle, and the 2, 5, 8 triangle remains the same. Let's actually do one more. I want to do one more where we can get the 6 flipping over and the triangle. So yeah, we'll take plane 10, which is 5, 1, 6, 2, 7, 3, 8, 4, 2, 7, 3, 8, 4, 9 at the top. So now the equilateral triangles have flipped, because what was the 1, 4, 7 equilateral triangle now is the 2, 5, 8 equilateral triangle, and the 1, 4, 7 equilateral triangle here has switched positions, but the groupings are always the same. So let's concentrate again on the star map. Six, 3, 9, 0, 3, 9. So I'm now bringing back the star map and a little more clarity, hopefully, on why this is the 1, 4, 7 triangle, the 2, 5, 8 triangle, 9, 3, 6 triangle. So as we looked at when I looked at the star map, there's these two guys, these two equilateral triangles are able to turn, they need to turn in opposite directions to form the triangle. Well, let's do it quickly. The triangle and the 9-pointed star, and then into the 6-pointed star, which then becomes the 9-pointed star again, and so on. We cycle through that sequence. So I'm coming back to what for me I call the beginning. Again, pointed this out last time. If we're in plane 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2 on the black numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And then when we circulate in the opposite direction, we move up into the 7th plane on 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, etc., which is 4, 8, 3, 7, 2 on the green numbers here, 6, 1, 5, 9. And then we'd circulate back this way for plane 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the pink numbers, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 9. And so on. Then you circulate back this way on the black numbers. So I've already pointed that out in the past, but in this case we're circulating in this way, and just before they form the triangle we freeze frame and we have a look at the numbers coming together. And at the top there we've got the 27, we've got the 54, and we've got the 81. So something that's interesting about that, which flagged up for me, was that this is actually the start of the 27 times table. 27, 54, 81. And then I thought about that. So there's 27 between 27 and 54, and there's 27 between 54 and 81. Equally, those numbers come together and then come out the other side, and they switch over into their, what I call their celestial pairings. So in the celestial pairings we've got 72, 45 and 18. So first of all, why do I call them the celestial pairings? So the celestial year is got 360 days in it. It's our circle, 360 degrees of our circle, the celestial year. And if we divide 316 by 18, we get 20. If we divide it by 45, we get 8. And if we divide it by 72, we get 5. So one thing to note there is drop the 0, as we often do in numerology, and you've got the other number group, 258, 285. So these numbers all divide evenly into the 360 celestial year. However, their counterparts, which I call the manifest numbers, the 27, the 54 and the 81, do not divide equally into the 360 cycle. However, it is also still interesting to note that the difference between 18 and 45 is 27. 18 plus 27 equals 45. The difference between 45 and 72 is 27. Also, if we look at the other number groupings that form the 9 from any two numbers, it's the, I'm putting the 9 in anyway, but it's the other group, which is 9, 36, 63, and we can go all the way on to 90 just to have a look at this, because between 9 and 36 you've got 27. 27 plus 9 equals 36. 36 plus 27 equals 63, and 63 plus 27 equals 90. So for me, 27 is representative of ego mind, and I guess if we wanted to put an interpretation on that, my interpretation of that would be that the 27, the ego mind, is in between all these factors, all these elements. Or maybe what we could say in a more literal sense is that the 27 is always between us and being really present, because that is what draws us out of moments of presence, of true genuine presence, is when we get drawn into moments of the mind, which is the ego mind, which is represented by 27 here. But so it's clear from this that the 27 is of some significance. I mean, it is of some significance. But the question that came into my mind at this point was, so when does 27 divide evenly into 360? So obviously it never divides evenly into 360. But the answer is 1080. 1080 divided by 27 equals 40. And 1080 divided by 360 equals 3. So this is 3 full cycles. Let's put in the little degree mark there. So this is 3 full cycles of the celestial year. So this is 3 years. And after 3 years, the number 27 goes in exactly 40 times. So we know when the 18, the 45 and the 72 go into the 360, that's just 1 year. We can also extend that out because I'll let you hold on to that piece of information as I wipe it away. But the 360 obviously also divides evenly by 36 10 times. But 63 does not divide evenly into 360. So by that analogy, we can also say that the 36 is one of the celestial numbers, dealing more with our spiritual, energetic side of our being, whilst the 63 is more the manifest side of the numbers, dealing with our more physical, manifest reality. So coming back, when I saw that the 27 times 40 equaled 1080, which is 3 full cycles, and also is your 1080 HD vision, come to that later, it made me want to look at the 27 times table. So, and what I discovered from the 27 times table is pretty interesting. I'm just going to pull out, I've got the 27 times table slide here. I'll put that up. And let's just take a handful of numbers. Let's take 14 times 27 is 378. 22 is 594. 33 times 27 is 891. And I don't know, let's say 5 times 27 is 135. I want one more. 32 is 864. Okay, so you've seen the slide, and you've seen that these are all numbers from the 27 times table. So the first thing that I want to point out, I mean, remember our number groups. Okay, we've got 3, 6 and 9. We've got 1, 4 and 7, and you've also got the 2, 5 and 8 groups. So what you see here is you get a 3 from there, you get the 7 from there, and you get the 8 from there to create the first number, 3, 7, 8. If we look around the star map, we get the 3 here, and in green you get the 7 and the 8 as a group together. So these two numbers will pass together and fuse, and when these fuse together it gives us a 6, and the 6 and 3 fuse together to give us an overall 9, obviously. So that's that guy. If we look down here, same again, 9 from the 369 group, 4 from the 147 and 5 from the 258 group, and looking on the star map, the 9 at the top, and in green here the 4 and the 5 come together. So same again here, 8, 9, 1, the 9's at the top, there's got the 8 and the 1 on either side of it. 1, 3, 5, again 1 from each group, 1, 5 and 3. And here at the 3 we get the 1 and the 5 in black, they'll come together here. And I chose one with a number 6 in it here to show that that's happening here in black, 8, 6, 4. I'm pointing out just a general pattern. You can take any number in the 27 times table and you'll be able to construct it here. But obviously we're dealing with up to the numbers 1000, because then we start to have 4 numbers. Obviously at any point here we don't have 4 numbers, but there are also ways of working that we can transform numbers as they go into, it's like next generation. For example, I'm going to take a number, a much bigger number from the 81 times table, which we will come to in a moment, and 81 times 32 is 2592. So basically we can do an alchemical transformation of this, and we can take the 5 and 2, add them together, and we get the 792, which is your 792 here on the map. So as the numbers expand and get bigger, we can still rework them to fitting into these 3 numbers. And obviously once we've got these 3 numbers, we can always work it back to 9, because they all fuse together one by one. The 7 and the 2 gives us, if we added them together, they give us 2 9s, and the 9 and 9 is 18, and the 1 and the 8 is a 9. So I mean, everything fuses together and in the end gives us 9. So we'll get rid of this again for now, and bear in mind that, so what we've said is from the 27 times table, all the numbers can be found on this cycle, which are numbers between 1 and 1000, if we accept that the 1 to 100 are basically just here. 27, 54, 81, they're the first 3 numbers, and then the next number is actually 108. So I also need to point out that the 9 and the 0 are synonymous in this. So the 108, the 0, there's many zeros, and the 9 is basically universally substituted for a 0. For example, we've also got 20 times 27, which is 540. So you've got your 5, your 4 and your 0 all together. So but basically the characteristics are that on the 27 times table you will always have one number from each of the 3 sets of numbers until I got to the 37th term. So 37 times 27 equals 999. So for me that was curious. Every single number was a compound of the 3 different number groups, and then you get to the 37th number and all of a sudden it's 999. It's 3 numbers from the 369 group, and obviously 3 of the key numbers of 9. So you've got 999 as the 37th term of the sequence, and we also have already talked about it, and we know that 27 times 40 equals 1080, which is 3 times 360. I've gone into this in more detail in the book, but the other term that is of interest to us is the 36th term, and 36 times 27 is 972. So 972. If these were going into the triangle here, the 9, 7 and 2 fuse together, or as they come out of that, you've got the 972 here. And so in yoga there is a system where they talk about knots, and what I believe through my own practice and investigation into this is that the 999 was symbolic of the first knot. So what we get here is, up until the 37th term, each term of the 27 times table has one from each of these number groups fusing together to form each number. And then we arrive at the 37th term and buff, we've got 999, which is all numbers from just one group, the 369 group, even though we're talking about numbers that are the basis of all the other numbers anyway. So there's some sense in it, but this for me is the knot, the first knot in the spiritual practice. So let's talk a little bit more about the knots. I think we need to talk about. So it also happens at the 37th term. So for me, this is also symbolic of what I would call 3-7-10 spirituality. 3 is always the Trinity. 7 is the 7 principal internal chakras. 7 plus 3 equals 10. What I'm more interested in is what I would define more as 3-9-12 spirituality. 3 for the Trinity, 9 for 9 internal chakras. That's the 7 main chakras plus Palate chakra plus Bindu chakra at the top. I don't think it's a crown, whatever. Back of the head here. And so internal chakras is 9, and there's 3 sets of 9 because the 3 internal elements that we can become aware of are the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental body. So 3, 6 and 9. And then the 9 to 12, we have three more numbers, and they're relating to the phenomenal world all around us, the sense door realm. So what happens quite often in 3-7-10 spiritual traditions is when we get to the first knot, because there's a build-up in tension and energy, instead of finding our way through this knot, quite often what happens is the attention doesn't go out to the phenomenal world all around us, but it returns inside, and we move into more concentrated mind states, jhana practices, and the like. Or we blimp out at this point and we get lost in mind because the intensity rises, and at this point it's escape or go into another practice. It's not another practice. Because when the intensity builds up, we need some sort of way of dealing with this build-up of energy. One way is that the mind blimps out. One is that we come more internally. We stay with the internal factors of body, mind and emotions, and the mind can become more and more refined, more and more concentrated. But as the mind becomes more and more refined and more concentrated, then we move into deep meditative states. And one of the problems with the difference between these two spiritualities, between these two different concepts, is that the 3-9-12 concept is that we're attaining into an awakened state of mind, that we're able to function carrying water, chopping wood in our day-to-day life. So it's not about deep meditative states of consciousness, cosmic consciousness, or other subtler experiences that are quite common on many spiritual paths. So one of the key differences that I've already just illuminated in some way is that between these two systems we talk about 7 major chakras through the 7 chakra system, whereas in this system we're also including 2 extra chakras as being key internal chakras. Any system of yoga would probably accept that there's many chakras, but the more common accepted view is that there are 7 principal chakras. However, I also include Palat chakra and Bindu chakra, which is up here, where Brahmins tend to leave a tuft of hair just at the very back of their head there. It's also kind of on the same level as the third eye, just round the back. And these are also key internal chakras which help the movement of energy to circulate through the body. So what is the key, the 972 here? So on the 36th term, it would have to be in this system, the 36th term, and the 9 is the crown chakra at the top, the 7 is the third eye, and 2 is, depending on how we view it, again, breakdown of this more in the book, but the 2 is an element of the 9. When the 9 breaks down and divides into the 6 and 3, the 3 then breaks down into the 2 and the 1. The 1, I'm doing this very briefly, so I'm not sure it's a good job, but the 1 is the individuated being, who we are. The 2 is the cosmic energy. When the 9 breaks down into the 6 and 3, the 6 is what rests as universal energy. We need to have the full. We started as 0. This is like energy, which then turned in upon itself, broke and turned in upon itself, giving you the 9. And then when the 9 divided, it became the 6 and the 3. And the 6 is kind of what was kind of the original base of universal energy that is carried through in the 9. And then the 3 was the element of universal consciousness. And then the number 3 breaks down further into the 2 and the 1. So this is why you're getting like 9216, for example, as a key number in this teaching. So, and the 1 that breaks down, so the 1 becomes consciousness in terms of individuation as to who we are in terms of body. This is one of the masculine figures. We can see that is, the 1 is a body. And that's who we are as individuals. But the 2 doesn't break down any further. The 2 is also characteristic of the universal energy which is within our system. So we can talk about that yogic terms in terms of Kundalini energy. So this is universal Kundalini energy, which is experienced. It's released at the base chakra, but it's experienced at the crown. And when we're arriving at this stage here, or this stage here, so we can feel that flow through the 9 chakra systems by putting our attention at the crown. That's what the 2 is telling us, putting our attention at the crown. And then the intensity that builds up at the third eye, then with the attention moved here, it then starts to create this passage and can eventually come back down through Bindu chakra, because this is the energy going up where we get the intensity at the 999 at the 37th term, if you like. And then the yogi chooses at this point to switch his consciousness. This is the yogi's power to change his consciousness. And when the yogi understands this, we move into the 9-pointed star. Okay, I can redirect my consciousness. And in doing that, the consciousness gets redirected. And that's where we form the 6-pointed star. The consciousness now is channeling down through Bindu, down through the spine. And that's because we've been able to activate the key here, which was the 36th term. But it doesn't all happen. It doesn't all happen fluidly in one moment. We have to stay with that. And even once we've started to bring the energy back down, there's still the 38th term and there's the 39th term of the 27 times table before we reach the 40th term, which is when the 27 finally fits into the 360 degree pattern at 1080. So, but when we do finally enter into the 360 celestial pattern, that's when after the 6-pointed star, we blossom out again into the 9-pointed star. And at this point, our attention is balanced and centered internally and also aware, conscious of all the phenomenal world all around us. Through the first lock, which is the first stage of a rebirth, which is the same as any birthing process. When the child comes out, normally coming out head first, they have to pass through, and then the head comes out. And energetically, which is why it's the virgin birth, is because we have to pierce through this membrane of physical, of spiritual energy, maybe, of an energetic membrane. We pierce through as the head comes out. And when the head comes out for the first time, we're able to see and perceive the world with fairly fresh and new eyes, if you like. But of course, that is only the first stage of rebirth. You know, when the head comes out of the vagina, there's a contraction again of the sphincter, of the opening of the sphincter. But then that's going to have to open again and even wider to allow the shoulders to come out next. So there is a moment of presence and the beginning of a rebirth, but then we're going to have to go again because there are further locks or knots or gates that we need to pass through. This talk has gone longer than I actually thought it was going to do. So end video here, and in the next video I'll come back and talk about the second lock. So thank you for watching this one.